This video is sponsored by Squarespace, but I'll tell you more about them later. I've been spending a lot of time recently building a space just next door to my current studio to set up a program to allow artists to have a space and have a team of people to bounce ideas off. This project has been percolating for many years, and then quite suddenly things just rapidly unfolded, and I found myself with like a really fantastic opportunity to get it off the ground. So that's why I've been struggling to find the mental energy and headspace to engage at all anywhere, which I'm feeling incredibly guilty about because of this community meaning so much to me. And yeah, I think it's been a difficult one for me to navigate. So we have this beautiful space next door, which we are trying to turn into something that will be extremely inviting and conducive for artists to refine ideas and get a bunch of work done over the course of like a 2-month program or a 6-month program, depending on the program. I need quite a lot of adrenaline to get things going, so I thought that a nice way to leverage adrenaline and get the studio space finished would be to try and have a show. So I gave myself a 3-week or 2-week deadline to try and put together a show, which is similar to what I did 2 years ago, which was a ton of work. But it's a really lovely way of motivating and really making sure things happen quite quickly. And so that's what I did, and I've been spending the last while really grafting to try and make sure everything came together beautifully. And this is the story of the last 2 weeks of madness. I really enjoy building spaces that are conducive towards working and lend themselves to being in a flow state rather than something that pulls you out of it. And two of the things that really play a big role for me are the quality of the acoustics in a space and the lighting in that space. And naturally, we assume that everyone else in the world is the same as us. And so we built these same panels that we built in this studio to put up in the new residency studios. Building these panels is mostly really cathartic and quite fun, up to the point where we have to put on suspicious-looking hazmat suits in order to work with the sound insulation material, which is mineral wool, and that stuff is just horrible to work with. So we have these full-body hazmat suits, and we're working in the garage. While we were working down there, we saw this lady walking to her car, and when she saw 2 people dressed like this, she started running, and I can only imagine what was going through her head. But we got them all finished and installed into the space. And immediately it feels a lot better to be standing inside the space. The thing I really love about these kinds of projects is putting together a small team of people and all working together towards something. And there's a wonderful list of tasks, and Margot, who's running the studio, manages to put everything really neatly and beautifully in order. Yeah, really wonderful to build and work with a small community like that. There's a bunch of just ridiculous things that happen with projects like this, and delays and unexpected things. So the one day, one of the guys who's working for the building, renovating the space with us, was drilling into the wall near the DB board, and we just heard this incredibly loud bang and a bright light. And this guy was just standing dead still with his drill in the wall. He had just drilled into 2 of the phases for the main distribution board and taken out all the electricity for the whole building. We had to get the municipality to turn it on at the substation, and just upset everybody in the building. I'm just so grateful that guy was okay. The next thing I wanted to tackle was lighting. So I quickly designed like a very minimal light that I'd really love to hang in the studio space and in the residency space. The idea was to make it out of ceramics. I have a kiln downstairs and to fire them before opening night. And so I had a heat gun on these plates, trying to get them to dry out quickly, and eventually decided to put them into the kiln and do a soak for 12 hours. The soak is just having the kiln on low temperature for a long period of time to get all the moisture out of the clay so that it doesn't explode. And so that all went well, and then it had soaked for a long time, and then we decided to fire. So we fired over a weekend, and we only had one shot to get everything fired. and everything broke with the exception of one disc. So I was obviously disappointed, but it was also cool that we could maybe have one prototype on display. And Dan hates inconsistency, so if all of the plates are broken and one of them is fixed, he's uncomfortable with it. So he made sure to break the last plate. It wasn't on purpose at all. The plates only half fired, so they were in this weird state where they were super brittle and it would never have lasted. He was leaning over the table to grab a drill and didn't realize that he was pushing against the plate, or he did realize and he didn't want to tell me. It's just nice to blame Dan for things that he's already warned me against, and yeah, anyway, it wasn't his fault at all. But we decided to try and make it out of like an air drying clay just to get a prototype, and that's the state that these lights are currently in. But yeah, they didn't really make it to opening night, but they are coming along really well, and I'm super excited about it. The next part of the show was just a wonderful excuse for me to build my hyper-stimulating lighting feedback chamber thing. I need to find a name for this, maybe a ridiculously long acronym. The first time I built this was in that little tent that I had in my studio, and this time we have a whole huge room which we could dedicate to it, which is iteratively getting more and more immersive and interesting. And it's just this installation that really invites play, and it's so beautiful to see people who are engaging with this piece who are a little bit hesitant to play, and they'll kind of watch other people playing on it for a while, and it's almost like there's this child inside them like knocking at the door, and eventually the child wins and you'll see them like move the glass ball or move the rope, and it has a reaction, and there's colors and there's input and it's feedback, and eventually people start to play and it starts to break down that wall a little bit. And it's really beautiful to see how people can get really absorbed and into a bit of a flow state of experimentation of what if I do this? What does it look like? And I think there's something special about this artwork. I haven't quite had like a final finished form of it that I can present to a gallery or something, but I'm quite keen for that to find its way into the world in the next couple of years. Another iteration of that was the vertical version of it, which came about through the sheets that I was messing with in like 3 weeks ago's update. I know it's been a long time. Those came from wanting to do a drawing with silhouettes, and I put this sheet up, and then it just one thing led to another, and these ideas started to cross-pollinate. So there was a version of the vertical feedback loop which I had on the opening night, and unfortunately it didn't quite work out the way that it did when I was just experimenting with it. I had a really fun session of play in the studio with this piece, and I was like convinced that it would work out really well, and there was just kind of a misalignment detail when I put it up in the exhibition space, which meant it didn't quite feedback the way that I needed it to. And there wasn't enough time to tinker with it and get it perfect, but I think it was still fun for people to play around with, and it was still stimulating and interesting, but it wasn't quite what I needed it to be. And I think that's kind of a crucial part of this kind of creativity, which is to try and do as much as you possibly can, and if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. It's process-based. It isn't like the perfect final finished result. I'm not sure if I'll be able to cultivate that mindset for a show that is like completely fully fledged and needs to be perfect. But for these open studios, these more relaxed sharings of ideas and artwork, it's really nice to pursue things broadly and to hold them a bit loosely. There's a lot of really exciting, wonderful things going on right now. But I've also been having an incredibly difficult couple months, and I think some people have noticed as well. But it's something that I'm just also trying to hold gently and to continue to do things and to work through. It's an interesting one because these larger projects are also stimulating and exciting, and it's something that my mind can get really locked onto and promises a lot of satisfaction and like instant gratification, but it doesn't quite have the same catharsis that drawing does. And what's interesting is that when I'm going through a difficult time, drawing is one of the most healing and powerful things that I can do to work through it. And it's also the first thing that I neglect when things are difficult. So I've been experiencing that a bit as well. I've been working on these under the sheet drawings. They're just fabric textures, and it's extremely soft and gentle and cathartic, and I've been loving them. And I thought I'd just do one or two as a practice with charcoal, because I'm trying to get more and more comfortable with charcoal. And these things have absolutely captured my heart and my mind. They're so simple, and I'm just loving producing them. As soon as I finish the deadlines or the projects that I'm on at the moment, I'm really keen to just explore that series of works, the soft, gentle, and bit of tension within the fabric with charcoal. And I think that that's also just going to be a bit of a sanctuary for me for the next couple of weeks or months, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, I didn't want to end this video on a low note, but yeah, things are okay. Before I end this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they've played a huge role in my career, not only in helping me maintain this channel by sponsoring these videos, but early on in my career, I was looking for a way to showcase my work and make it easy for collectors to find me and get in touch with me. And I didn't have time to learn HTML and to try and build a beautiful, reliable website. I found that Squarespace did all of that effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them and set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use this offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. Yeah, so there we go. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been really full on, which is why I've been struggling with the consistency of sharing what's been happening in the studio. But hopefully things will start to get back to their standard programming and more drawing-focused updates. But the last 3 weeks have been really fun and really full on. As always, thanks for all the support and all the feedback. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to hear in next week's update, and I can include that. Leave a like if you found this video helpful or entertaining. It helps the channel out in a huge way. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.